Hi folks, you're back with Jason. Thanks very much for choosing to stop in and check out the video today. So just checking out this early RC10 pan, and it looks like it's an Edinger with no stamp. So that's just an interesting tidbit to start off the video. Anyway, this car came to me many years ago in a collection from my friend Paul. And quite some time ago, I pulled it down, cleaned it up. It's just been sitting in a box all this time, waiting to get a new lease on life. And so that's what I'm doing here in this video. There is a 6-gear RC10 class being run up at the Chargers in Queensland. That's a club up there, and they run the vintage muster, but they're having a regular, it seems like they're having a regular 6-gear RC10 class at their vintage club meetings. So anyway, this is to pay homage to that, and when I head up that way, I would like to take this car up there with me and run it as you see getting built in this video. So anyway, let's get on to the build. And look, I'm just going by the manual that came with the RC10 Clear, and what I've done is I've taken the majority of the metal components out of the RC10 Clear kit, and I've used them to replace the rusty old bits and pieces that were in this car. And the main agenda of this build is, of course, just to make the car reliable. So look, I had a hard time liking the car initially because it had all these weird dyed parts, and it's actually grown on me. I don't even know why, but it has. And I thought to myself, would I go and replace all these different coloured dyed parts with a really perfect new minty white set? No. No, I wouldn't in the end. I don't know what it is about these old cars that they've got a bit of, they've got a bit of history in them, and I don't think they deserve to be hidden away and never used ever again, or replaced or thrown away. I like to get the most out of them, and this car is going to represent exactly that. So with this build, the main agenda is reliability, so just getting this car to actually work. So in the previous 2 videos of this one, I've done a build of the RC10 Clear, and then I did a detailed build of the 6-gear transmission, which I don't know if I've ever seen a video of that. So I don't consider myself an expert at RC10s, or any car really. I'm just, you learn as you go. And what I wanted to do was just share my findings and go by the manual and see what the manufacturer recommends. And that's what you see in the videos that I make on this RC10 car and the Clear before it. And if you did pay any attention to the intro that I did of the video, you would notice that I did make mention of the RC10 Torque 20-year anniversary. So look, I'm in my early 50s now, and I remember joining up there back when I was still in my 30s. So I would say 15 odd years I've been a member of that forum, and that really was the place to go. Long before social media was around, this is where a lot of people came to meet, and that's where we all started getting back into this whole vintage kit via the RC10 Torque forum and website. So yeah, I just spoke to Jason Sontas, who is one of the main guys over there, and he's also on Facebook, and there is an RC10 Torque Facebook page. So look, that place really goes back. It really does show us that after all these years, so many people have come along and still stuck by it, and loving vintage RC. So it wasn't even just RC10s. There were actually forums dedicated to different interest groups. So anyway, go check out RC10 Talk if you get a chance, you'll see exactly what I mean. So back to the build here. What I've done is I'm not really happy with the limit of the suspension travel. So I've been playing with these not caster blocks. They are the rear arm mounts, and just shaving off carefully parts of the arm just to get more droop out of that arm. And we're going to see later on in the video why it is that I did that. So now, often you hear of people complaining about E-clips being a challenge to get onto most cars. Now, I don't really have a problem getting them onto most cars, but I'll tell you what, the Associated, I certainly did. I don't know what it is, but they tend to be a really odd fitment, and they do present a bit of a challenge in order to get them to go onto those pivot shafts. But anyway, I made it look easy in the video with the magic of editing. Anyway, back on to now. I've gone with obviously the re-release stub axles to go into the hubs, and yeah, I just wanted to make the car as reliable as I possibly could, so that it was going to present little troubles being out there on the racetrack. And I just want a car that you can throw in your silver can motor, throw in a battery, and away you go. I don't want to play around with the car. Just set the diff and get the camber set up on the car and just drive it as it is without bits falling off it. So yeah, reliability again is just what I've been aiming for with this car build. Anyway, yeah, so with the wing tubes, I gave them a bit of a polish up and just slotting them into place now. And onto the dog bones. So yeah, you really want to make sure that you install the little spacer that goes inside of that diff out drive there. And of course, that's the tension spring on the dog bone. And I really like the way the system works. For such an early odd car, manufacturers weren't really doing that sort of stuff even back then, but Associated were well and truly onto it, and they obviously got it to work well. And check out these janky old links here. They're going to go, and I'm just going to throw on the clear versions. So I'm pretty sure these are just the standard that would go on all these early RC10s, and I didn't want to go away from the original ball cap, so I wanted to keep the car, as close to original as I possibly could. And those ball caps, at least they aren't all old and worn out, and they should give it a bit of a fair chance out on the racetrack. Yep, on now with the front end, and clearly I've removed that glue or residue that was on that front nose plate there in the tub of acetone. It took maybe 30 minutes and it was gone. That was really cool. Now, these are the janky old original steering parts, bell cranks, and they're going to go. And I had some of Andy's printed front steering bell cranks gifted to me from my good friend Sean here on the Central Coast. And I thought, you know what, they'll be perfect to go on this car. And I'm like, yeah, they look a lot like the originals, and I just wanted to keep the original style, except these are quite heavy duty and they are ball raced. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. I was getting super excited about it, and blammo, the orientation of the print, and this is going to sound funny. I even tried to lift that section out and just flop it over, just force of nature, really. So anyway, for now, I've gone with these other ones, and he's going to print me out the correct version, and I'm going to chuck that in this car when that comes back to me. So for now, this ball race set will do. At least they aren't going to give me any trouble. Now onto the front steering setup here. Yep, the color of that the color of that dye, it just completely reminds me of Coca-Cola or Pepsi Cola, just that weird cola color, So I don't know whether someone was trying to aim for that back in the day, or whether that's the best that black could have been done. But yeah, the arms and those steering knuckles have this cola-looking color, and I don't know why it is that I like it, but it just anyway. They're staying on the car. I don't have any other white parts to replace with it, but I chucked on what I had. And you know what? It's just a good fit for me. I don't care. Like, you know what? If it comes off the track a bit dirty, it already looks a bit dirty, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, obviously I'm swapping out the shock towers. These came off the clear, so they're identical to the originals. They just, in better condition, of course. So I thought, you know what? I'm not changing any of the geometry, but I am just sticking with, how the car came back in the day. So I'm not looking to change much on this car, not even universal. So yeah, make sure you use your Loctite on this. Again, reliability is key, and being out the racetrack, I don't want things falling off and costing me laps or whatever. And especially when you travel, especially interstate for an event, like I don't go there to win, but I don't go there to fail where the car just falls apart in the first corner. That's what's the point, right? So you travel all that way, you have all this anticipation of going and enjoying this car, and you don't want it to fall apart the minute you get to the track. So yeah, I guess the reason why I actually show all the details in the build on these videos is that I can share with people who maybe they just don't have the knowledge, or they just aren't really putting in the time to make their car reliable. You know, maybe it might inspire a couple of people just to, I don't know, just have a, you know, a closer look at how they do things, and you know, make their cars more reliable, so when they go to the track they have more fun. So yeah, I mean, ideally these are old designs, and you know, we are testing the limits sometimes, but here in Australia, this particular class just runs with a silver can motor. You know, overseas you hear about people running with, you know, 17.5 in these cars, which is just way too much power. But anyway, that's, you know, that's what they do, and this is how we do it. So you know, onto the nose tubes now. You know, I basically very lightly tighten them up, and then I pull the screws back out one at a time, and I Loctite them again, make sure they're all nice and tight, nothing's shaking loose. And yeah, onto this battery cup setup here. And good Lord Almighty, I don't know who did that. It took me a minute, but when it was bolted in and I tried to put the battery in, I was just like, what is going on with this thing? Someone must have been having a few too many beers, I think, when they drilled those holes and mounted that battery cup. So I'm like, look, I'm going to have to just, you know, start all over again. So I've always thought that they were factory mounted this way, but they were across, obviously across the chassis early on. And so anyway, I'm doing my own here, and I did double check measurements, and you know, I made sure that before I drilled the holes, everything was going to be right. So I initially made these marks, but I ended up changing it again. But anyway, so on with these tires now. So these are the re-release tires to replicate what Associated came out back in the day, but these particular tires were on this car when I got it, and I just love them. I don't know if they work well or not, but anyway, these rear ones are made in Italy. I don't know what brand they are, but they are a little bit hard. They're not very soft. And I think back in the early 80s, that was a tyre they ran. And this particular Associated tyre came on the RC10 Clear. And look, it's okay. You know, it's certainly softer than those Italian tyres. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe the car's going to slide around in the back. But fortunately for me, when I was at the Vintage Bash, I was gifted this set of tyres by Uzo from Japan. Now, he has these things made. So he had his own molds made, and he now sells these tyres. And let me tell you, they are so soft, they're almost like bubble gum. They are incredible. Now, I saw Atsushihara racing those tyres on his 834, and it was really hooking up. So I may very well be one of the very first Australians in the world to ever get a set of these tyres. And yeah, they came to me back in very early November, and I thought I'll save them for a good project, and with this is going to be that project. So yeah, these tyres are going to go, and they're going to get glued to those rims. I'm not going to use the three-piece setup because of the foam insert. But yeah, these are the sets of tyres I'm going to run on this RC10, and you know, I'm hoping it goes really well. And here we are back to these holes that I've drilled and countersunk. So I've just done my best, and I'm just mounting the battery cup now. So I ended up moving it slightly further forward. I actually checked with the servo that I want to run, and I've just made it so I can fit the battery snug. So I'm not running modern gear in this car. The intention is to run with all old school electronics, which will come in another video, but we can see here now that the battery's going to happily sit in there. And should I ever want to, I do have a stick pack LiPo. It's a very basic battery, and if I ever do end up going that way, there is room for that as well. So anyway, the battery is now exactly where it should be, which is really cool. So out with those old linkages, I ended up finding some of these, which allow me to adjust the camber and caster camber and toe without actually having to pull ball ends off the car. I also, when it came to the shocks, I actually ran longer shock shafts and in the front, because I wanted to get it just a bit more droop out of the front. The short ones just didn't allow the front to drop enough, and also with the rear, it was the same. What I wanted to do was I spaced put spaces inside the shock to get the amount of droop that I wanted. So I did get more droop than what was from the factory, but I've controlled that with spaces inside the shock now. So it feels super plush and is very cool.